Welcome back to the All Outdoors Photography Podcast, where we share experiences out in the field and educate others through landscapes, wildlife, macro, and more, with photographers from around the world.
And today it's just going to be the two of us, actually, and we're going to be having, I believe, a two-part episode, and we're going to be talking about everything related to Biggest Week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a little FAQ for people who don't know what Biggest Week is. It's in McGee. What's the town? Maumee, Ohio, kind of that area. Near.
Yeah, it's like near basically Lake Erie. It's outside Toledo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like it's separated over a couple of counties, actually, like Ottawa. Gosh, I can't think of the names right now, but it's just a great place up there. Great habitat. Mm-hmm. But go ahead.
Yeah, and all the warblers get stuck basically in migration because Lake Erie's huge, so they'll get trapped there. They have to forage along the shore and get tons of energy from these various marshes. I mean, that's the majority of what's there is marshes, especially along Lake Erie. And they have to get, energy from there, whether it be insects or, kind of the nutrients on the leaves or, for different species. They have to fuel up, and they all show up. So it's crazy. It was amazing. So.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I have multiple birders and photographers alike that would recommend this place to me because I've been trying to go since 2020, and then of course COVID happened. They closed all the event, and then last year I just forgot about it. So this year I was 2022. I was like dead set. I was like I'm going. I don't care, no matter what. I'm going for a certain length of time, and I happened to spend an entire week there, which is awesome. Just a great time, but. It's really for anyone that it's actually someone just the other day messaged me. He went up to Biggest Week, or not, excuse me, he went up to McGee Marsh just the other day, and right now we're recording near the end of May, so migration's still pretty strong. It's kind of tapering off a little bit with certain species, but anyways, this guy went there and he's like, wow, it really is they just get up in your face, and it's almost too easy. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's I'm a believer now. When people said that, they weren't joking. It is really cool.
Yeah, I really get why. I mean, I know they're desperate for food, but I still really don't understand why they're they just don't care. It's crazy to me, and it really works out well. So
it's a strange, it really is a strange thing with these. I mean, with the birds, because it's they are migrating, of course, but there is, I've noticed a certain difference because I live almost 3 hours south of there, and it's like the same kind of warblers are different there versus here. It's just I don't know if it's just that because of along the flyway with the migratory path, are they just more desperate for food or something? But you're right, it is they just don't care, quite simply, for the most part.
Yeah, and we're gonna be going through our day by day here. We both spent a considerable amount of time there, so we've. For me at least, it was my first solo, not solo. I was shooting with you a lot, but just on my own kind of photo trip, and it was great. We did 12 hours of shooting a day usually, average 10 to 12 miles a day of walking. So I mean, it was insane. We shot. So
yeah, it was definitely the longest photo trip, photography minded trip I ever had. Just a full week of doing what I love. It felt like a big binge episode, really, because it, like you said, it was 12-hour days, and I would say the typical day when we were both together was we get up early in the morning, 5, 6 in the morning, something like that, before sunrise, drive to our respective locations. We'd be shooting in probably until 1 or 2 in the afternoon. Go back to the hotel, eat something, kind of just veg around. I would take a shower because I would skip that in the mornings, of course. And then we'd go out and shoot until 9 p.m. It was and we did that every day, for a few days. It was this is awesome.
We even usually had an evening activity too. We did a podcast and we did all this stuff. So we'd go to bed midnight or 1 a.m. and get up at 5.
And repeat it. Yeah, I had people going did you have time to enjoy the local restaurants? Did you get some beach class? Did you? I'm it was not really. I was at the beach, but I wasn't relaxing at the beach. I was kind of stoked for all the birds and shooting those. It was great because I really, because I'm such a rusher with things, seeing it all kind of thing, especially in new or unfamiliar places. But I really felt I took enough time to just kind of settle out and just enjoy the experience of being there. Which I did a decent amount of, but I was definitely, like you said, on my feet for hours and miles, boardwalk,
Mm-hmm.
hiking trails, and like just using the camera. I mean, like, yeah, it was just not a dull
Uh-huh.
moment, but like I still enjoyed it for overall for like what it was and
Yeah.
what was happening, I guess.
Yeah, for me at least, it took me a good week to recover just from the not necessarily the physical, just like the just general exhaustion because it was like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've never done something like this really, and I guess next week when I go to Alaska, it'll be kind of the same. So maybe I'll be a little less exhausted after that, but um, it's intense, but I love it. I mean, I never was never bored, that's for sure. So
Yeah, that's very true. It was definitely exhausting. I agree, but it was like just well worth the expense
hmm
at that. But let's go ahead and get started, I guess, with
yeah,
our first day here. So I think that was Friday,
yeah.
and
So
I go ahead.
you want me to kind of mention the couple things I did before you got there?
Yeah, basically, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I stayed at my grandparents' house, which is kind of in Ryan's area, kind of halfway up from my house. Uh, got up at like 5 and just drove because like I was like I want to get there so bad. Um, and I drove through the heaviest rain I've ever driven through. I was like I don't care, I can still shoot in this. I got there. It was a little bit too rainy, honestly. I was like,
Yeah.
expensive camera. I don't think so. So I met Gary Farber and Noby Cannon, the guys over at Hunts, for the first time. I've known them for a long time now, but it was nice to finally meet in person. Kind of hung out at their booth. So they were at the optics booth, which was really cool area. I know you and I over the course of the week we walked around there a bunch, just getting to know people and like looking at this really cool like binoculars and tripods and all this kind of stuff. Uh, yeah, so that was cool to see. And that's literally first when you enter McGee Marsh. It's right there. And there's even some feeders in the back too, which bring some really cool birds, rose-breasted grosbeaks, and I think there were even some warblers back there at some
Orioles.
points. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oriole. God, I can't even say that. Orchard Orioles were
Uh-huh.
pretty prevalent for I think one of the days that we actually stopped by and visit the alley, optics
Uh-huh.
alley at that. Yeah, but I just want to add in their appendage there that it wouldn't be any. We wouldn't do any service if we didn't mention like Black Swamp because they do have their office there, and that's where the bird feeders are at, or like situated behind and along it, right
Mm-hmm.
next to the optics alley, and that's a great conservation organization that basically I don't think they run McGee Marsh, but like they're situated right there as you enter the place, and
Mm-hmm.
they do some great work with that entire region up there.
Yeah, they do a lot of banding, a lot of studies. They raise tons of money for it, so they're great.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, it's worth going there to check out their gift shop. I actually bought a few
Uh-huh.
things on my last day when I was saying goodbye
Yep.
to
Me
Gary and
too.
Noah. Yeah, so it's just like such a cool place. Checking out the feeders and talking to people
Mm-hmm.
about the spotting scopes, different optics, camera gear, even lenses. Lots of different vendors that were up there, and it's just cool to meet people. Funnily enough, the one gentleman from Olympus that last day. I know I'm jumping around to later in the week, but
No
he
worries.
mentioned he mentioned about like finding our podcast. Actually, he's like, "Oh, I've heard of that. I've been listening for a couple weeks now." And he found it just like by searching up photography podcasts. It's like crazy to me. I was like, it's small world,
Uh huh.
but
Yeah.
like
Yeah. That was awesome. Yeah.
yeah, just
Yeah.
really cool people just talking about birding and everything. So yeah, it was just all around a really neat experience there alone. But um, yeah, I think
hmm
yeah. So
Yeah. So
from
when I got there, I hung out at that booth for like 2 hours, and then the rain pretty much stopped. So I went right to the McGee Marsh Boardwalk. And if I'm being honest, looking back, there wasn't really anything there. Um, but that was good, honestly. I mean, there wasn't like it wasn't the when I first got there, it wasn't the famous birds right in front of you. But that was kind of nice. I got to tour the boardwalk. I did get to shoot the magnolia that day, which was awesome. Got my best magnolia photo by far, just that day. Um, and I got to meet a bunch of people. Like I shot with a guy for like 2 hours, just a random dude, but we just talked about cameras and talked about birds and just like the community on the boardwalk. And I like the crowd levels on those earlier days too. There were
Yes.
still people on the boardwalk, if you want to talk to them, but also it's not wall to wall. And if you see a bird, generally it's just you shooting the bird, which is pretty nice. Um, I think I saw a Sora like the first minute I was on the boardwalk, so that was pretty darn cool. Yellow warbler, which for me is I would consider rare. I know it's not rare, but for me it's rare. I don't see them very often, honestly. In Louisville, it's more like common yellow throats rather than yellows, so that was really cool to see right away.
Yeah.
And yeah, I did. Yeah, I did McGee. It was super cool. And then I met up with Ryan. So
How many hours were you there? So you drove from your grandparents' house, and it was about 5 a.m.
uh-huh.
Probably almost 2.5, 3 hour drive. So like you're probably there from like nine,
I, yeah, I
10
got
till.
there at 9, and then I hit the boardwalk at 11:30, and I didn't get off the boardwalk till like 4. I literally like lost myself on the boardwalk. It was so cool. Like I just forgot about all things time. So
Right. It's
uh-huh.
totally understandable. I'm maybe a little guilty now, but like I slept in because I was just like I want to get my sleep in, and I think I didn't arrive to the area till like 3 or 4, and then that's when you're like, hey, you want to meet up at Mommy Bay, which we'll get to here in a moment. And I was like, ah, man, I should have got there sooner. But it was like a rainy day, like you said, the drive up there and everything, and I wasn't. I wouldn't say it's not favorable, but like you said, I don't want to take my gear out necessarily in rain, like purposefully,
Mhm.
and risk that. But I definitely agree there because like later in the week, it definitely got those droves of crowds, and it was just getting really wasn't like tough, but it was just getting a little bit too congested for my tastes. But it did help, I guess, in a way, if there's a silver lining with like seeing more birds, like more species, I guess, because people would point out, help you out, of course. When
Mhm.
you're out there on your own, like you said, and you're isolated, so to speak, and photographing certain birds, you may not notice other ones or hear them to quite like identify them, I guess, that from that same way.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, but I joined you later on, and we pretty much went from there at least. But it was a
That
really
was that was a cool
rainy day.
shoot.
Yeah, no, it's funny you're saying about yellow warblers being like rare in your instance. It was like that was my first couple shots from the whole trip, and it were pretty good ones at that. I'm looking at it right now, and it's like it's
Oh yeah, those it landed.
yeah,
There was a yellow warbler that landed on a yellow plant that was it was a different enough color that it provided like a great contrast. And the white
yeah.
sky worked in that scenario, and it was like wow. I haven't edited those yet, but like those are really cool.
I actually touched up. I haven't done much editing at the time of this recording, but like that's one shot I have done so far, just because I'm going chronological order, of course. And like I warmed it up just a little bit because it is kind of a cooler tones with that just that cloudiness to it of the day.
Yeah.
But like it really just helps bring out like you don't realize really until you look at a photo is like some of these birds like it's called a yellow warbler, but like it is all yellow. But like I never really took the time before the shot to like look at the intricate details of like it has those like rusty rufous streaks like along its breast. Like it has a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
like cool detail and like the darker like wing bars and design on that. Like there's a lot going on
And
there.
that
Even
there's
though
definitely green in those wing bars too.
yeah, like it's not just an all yellow bird or any other
Uh
kind of I guess bird for that matter. Really, it's like there's more to it than just like a solid
mhm.
color. You know.
Yeah. Also, I got as soon as I got to Mommy Bay, I got some like purple martin images that I'm like super happy
Mm.
with. I posted one on my Instagram this week, or it may have been last week actually. It was like a full frame headshot with like some foliage and a white sky, with rain though, so it kind of worked.
Hmm.
That was super cool. But also, I haven't posted it yet, but I got like a tree. I think I showed you, Ryan. It was like a yellow tree in the background, and you could clear. I did a shutter speed that the rain would be accentuated, and then a purple martin on like a stick, kind of small in frame. And it was yeah, it's one of my favorite shots on the trip, and it's a purple martin. It's not even a warbler, but it was super
Still,
cool. Yeah,
it's a
kind of a small in frame kind of thing.
yeah, and I mean it's still a cool bird nonetheless. It's a migrant.
Mm-hmm.
They only stick around in summer, at least here in most of Ohio, and
Mm-hmm.
like, and by comparison, I mean like your shot is amazing. Like it's facing the camera first off. Like I got a few from when we met up at Mommy to like that was after the yellow warbler shots, but it's like its back's turned to me. It's on like an isolated tree branch with some like lichen like on the branch, and there's like you could see the rain from the slowed down shutter slightly because it was like a downpour. But like, yeah, man, that's an awesome shot with that one.
Thank you. Yeah. And then we both got probably some of our best grackle shots we've ever taken. That shoot. Not for you? No?
I didn't nail the focus really. I don't know why. Because there's like a couple like the it was great because it was let me just explain for anyone listening. It was like great eye level, perfect. It was a fair distance away, so like I don't even think I shot at 600. I think it was like close to the 5. Nice compression there. In the background had a nice gradient with like a green to like beige, and just side profile view of the bird. A little too busy maybe in the foreground, like with the bird, because I had obviously the focal planes. It was like right, like I guess the plant it was on was right up there, but like it was obscuring it a little bit, but not too much. But like my shots weren't even that really good in focus. I got one of the nicotine membrane though, like the eye like layer.
Oh gosh, do you like those?
They're cool. I mean, it's just kind of cool that
Really?
like it shows how fast they blink, and you don't realize it until you take like a frame, like a burst, and like I got I think I got 6 frames of it, probably in rapid succession, I think, and like the third one has that eyelid, and then the other ones don't.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
and like all the shots kind of like basically have the same comp. Like the grackle didn't really move that much, but like it's really cool. But I think I've
Yeah,
taken better
I basically
grackle
did the
shots.
same thing. For me, like, I think I got a better angle than you. Because my bird was like completely exposed. I found like a window, and I was able to get like the rain like falling on his like feathers and stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more later about maybe some struggles or just stuff. I don't know, things to improve on, and that's one of them. We'll talk about maybe later or even on the next
for sure.
episode.
Yeah.
I don't shoot too many. I can't remember the last time I actually shot with another photographer, but like trying to get different compositions when you're trying to shoot the same thing, it's tough. It really is. But
Yeah,
we'll get into that.
I think we did a pretty good job, but there's some scenes where it's like almost impossible. So
I'm like, dude, we got to coordinate posting or whatever. I'm just like, I don't know. And it's not even just, I know I'm like ragging on you, but it's not even just you. It's the same thing at like the boardwalk. Like, how many of the 10 people in front of me are pointing at the same subject? Like, how many of our photos are going to look the same? Probably. It's probably a lot of them. And that's just
yeah,
kind
I
of
mean, a lot of my feed is that damn magnolia from the boardwalk.
Yeah.
Right now, in like the recommended, I'm like, I know where that was taken.
Oh, I know. Yeah. They're like, I was there. But yeah, I think that was pretty much it for day one. It was just kind of like cool, kind of like just a feeler kind of thing where I was just like, I was getting a feel for the location. I arrived in the area, long drive, so I was kind of tired, but like we checked out Mommy Bay, like the whole boardwalk, which on the later days was a lot better, I think, in my opinion, for photos, just because I didn't have to deal with like the wind and the rain. But yeah, it was a great time, just a couple hours out, and then it got kind of like too dark and we were just drenched, so like we're just, let's go back to the hotel and just settle up there. But you know, it's good.
We both hadn't had food either in like 12 hours, so
it felt like it.
yeah. Well, no, for me it literally was 12 hours.
Oh jeez, yeah, that's rough life.
So like, but that was nice. We stayed in Oregon, Ohio, and it was a pretty central location. I think the farthest distance was like 20 minutes to McGee. And there were tons of restaurants right there, so we could just grab something. So it was good.
Yeah, it's definitely a good central location.
Yep, and we found the back door, so we could just walk in, carry our gear straight up to the room, and yeah, it was good.
I'm bummed we got the third floor. I like the nice views. Yeah. So I was just like, we tried to get the first, but you know, I walked in, they're like, all right, third floor. I was like, whatever. It just was a pain, but. Yeah, so the first day there was pretty good. The second day, I think that was my first experience. Basically, I think we both woke up at like 5 something in the morning, and then I rode with you, and I was just like ready to go to McGee, like straight off the bat, early morning. I got there and like I wasn't used to the climate change, in the sense of like the weather, because like it's a few hours up north, but like it was that day super cold, like early in the morning before daybreak really. And so it was just super cold and windy there by the lake. And you dropped me off at the boardwalk, and then you had your workshop.
Yeah. So yeah, I did workshops with hunts. I did two. Our first one was at the Meeky Marsh area, but it was at the visitor center. There's a cool trail behind there. Um, and I think there were 7 attendees, and then Noah from Hunts, he was along with me. And it was super fun. Um, Everybody was beginners, which I was nervous to be like some pros in there, and I just kind of get intimidated. But they were all definitely beginners, and I just helped them, with camera settings and I helped a lot with angles because people would tend to, rather than kind of finding the best angle for the bird, they would just shoot straight up as they saw it, or just kind of stay in the same place. As far as subjects, for me, it wasn't anything too enticing, but I wasn't really there to shoot anyways, so we did find a groundhog for them just in the parking lot. So that was cool. For those who are able, I was able to teach them about eye level. That's one of my signature things. If you see me shooting, I'm always rolling around or doing something. Even on the boardwalk at McGee Marsh, I even laid down sometimes.
The best wildlife shooters, really.
Okay, yeah. Well, I don't know. Sometimes I take it to the extreme, but
I think it was kind of rough seeing so many people get warbler neck, like especially on the boardwalk when like they're pointing up this 6 to 8 pound camera and lens, but like up basically just right ahead of them, and I'm like, dude, it's like I'm just looking at it, like everyone's trying so hard to get
those photos are going in the trash can. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's gonna be a silhouette or whatever, but like I really learned to kind of like. And I was telling you this, like, kind of like let go of an opportunity in like the moment, because like not everything needs a photo, because I know it's going to be bad, quite simply.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and there were a bunch of red-winged blackbirds for them to work with, which they're very cooperative. So that was cool. They got to experiment with that, and there at the very end there was a perched eagle, pretty far away, but like you could do some cool stuff with it. And they were all overjoyed to see that eagle, so that was awesome.
Sweet.
And yeah, it was 2.5, 3 hours, just walking around, learning about where they came from, their background. One person lived in Cape May, New Jersey, actually, so that was pretty cool. A couple, they talked about their experiences there, and it was just cool. Yeah, it's just kind of like just having a guest on the podcast, 'cause it's kind of a bunch of guests, just learning about their photography. I also got to add some of the teaching elements, so yeah, it was good.
That's awesome. Yeah. Was it tough for you to like kind of like just put down your camera and help people out? Like,
no,
struggle?
no.
Really?
I kind of mentally told myself before I'm not going to shoot. Like, I shot a little bit. Like, I would make sure everybody was like, if there's something cool, there's a couple times where I wanted to shoot, I would make sure everybody's settled first, kind of getting the shots they want. Then I'd take a couple frames, but like I said, why I wasn't there for that, and I kind of just mostly put the camera down. So
yeah, that's good though. I mean, you have plenty of time afterwards to do it on your own too.
Oh yeah, so, for sure.
And you did, so that works out for sure. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So then after that, I believe that I just met you at McGee, right? I think so.
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk about my side of the story. So, like, you dropped me off at McGee before your workshop.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're good. I just want to keep it kind of going concurrently. Yeah. So you dropped me off at the entrance, and you dropped me there, and I just started going with. I had my camera, my 80D, and my Tamron 15600, and my GoPro strapped to my head, and it was like barely even light out, and there was like one person on the boardwalk in the parking lot before that. And so I was just like, hey man, I'll meet up with you in a few hours. And I'm just like, I started wandering, but like no sooner than probably like 5 minutes maybe, I'm like looking around at birds, it's kind of just starting up for the day. So it's pretty quiet, but it was so much wind, it was hard to, kind of like tell. And then like, I see this kind of familiar, like you ever get like a vibe from someone, like I may know them. I turn around and look at my side, and someone from that same entrance is walking pretty fast on the boardwalk. And he has a hood up and everything. I'm like, I kind of see a little bit of his face, and I just yell out, Gary? And he's like, hey, Ryan. It was like it was pretty surreal. It was, Gary Farber. And like, it was just really cool. I didn't really take any photos before you and I met up, because like we spent those couple hours you were at the workshop just chatting it up. And it was just like, it was great meeting him. just getting to know him better about himself and photography and how long he's been doing it, and all this kind of stuff. It was really just like a cool just moment, I guess, just sharing that experience on the boardwalk, just walking around, doing a few laps. But like I said, I really didn't take any photos during that moment because I was just focused on talking to him, I guess, at that point. But yeah, and then at that point, it was kind of later in the morning. Lighting was still pretty decent. In stark contrast to the day before, where it was all rain and gross. This day it was a lot more sunny and still cold, but it was warm enough at least. And so yeah, and then you and I met up from there.
Yeah. I actually can't remember. What did we do after that? Did we stay at McGee?
Yeah, we stayed at McGee, I think, for a few more hours. But like, I think you.
Did we?
It was Gary and I met up with you, and then Noah was there. I think so. Like all four of us. So then I met Noah, and then I think those two went off on their own, and then I think you and I just stayed at the boardwalk. I think, pretty sure. And then we kind of like did.
Yes. Okay. So I remember now. Yeah. So we shot at the boardwalk for a while, and then we had kind of a pretty good boardwalk shoot, but then we went out to the beach at Lake Erie. We kind of had like a beach adventure. I'm gonna be honest on that.
Yeah.
That I didn't get any photos necessarily, but it was really fun just to kind of explore Lake Erie. It's a beautiful lake. We found a killdeer nest, so that was cool. We photographed that for a couple minutes.
And that was like on our way out. Yeah, that was really cool. But it was like not like directly in the parking lot, but it was like pretty much right next to it, like between that and the between the beach and the parking lot. That is. And like I guess I'm guessing the Division of Wildlife noticed it pretty quickly, so they erected like 4 like signposts or cones around it. But people, you and I spent like probably 2 minutes max maybe, and we're down flat on the ground side by side shooting it for a while. The shots were okay, but like I just didn't want to overstay my welcome because I noticed it was.
Yep.
There's already people there shooting it. I think a couple people, but like it was definitely drawing a crowd, not crowd. But like just enough that I was just like, this is getting kind of So like I was just like, let's get out of here from that. I get iffy about that, and I just don't want to stress out the bird too much too.
Yeah, yeah. Then we explored the beach. We got some gull pictures. Ryan's a big gull fan, so he could identify them. So that was cool.
Am I? I didn't know that.
It seems like you're kind of a gull enthusiast.
No, I think I remember early on in the trip you're saying you're talking about yourself. You said like I'm more of a tern fan, and I think after
I'm a tern enthusiast more. Yeah,
I'm a tern enthusiast. I think after my full experience, I was like, I think I'm more of a tern fan too. I can't identify with
they
crap,
tend to convert you. Yeah,
they're just like this is probably a hot take, but they're like a cooler gull. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it.
No, yeah, I think that's widely known too, that they're just a gull. Like
you know
what
I mean. Yeah. You kind of find the same spots and and I think I saw 2. They're both lifers, Caspian and common tern. I did not see black tern, even though I had instances where I was talking to people and like they're like they were here yesterday and that kind of hearsay, but word of mouth and all that. But yeah, I did get those 2 lifers for terns because I've never seen them before. I mean, down here. So I was like, these guys are pretty cool, and I was expecting them to, of course, with the trip. So that was nice little thing to have. But yeah, we walked along that beach for a good while, and it was midday light, but it was a beautiful blue sky day. Water's flowing, like you said, the gulls and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, and I don't know if you remember, we discovered some like habitat that'd be great for warblers. I suspect if we had gone back there later in the week, there would have been like all kinds of stuff in there. Honestly, we probably should have done that.
I kind of did that next morning because we'll talk about a little bit about my landscape, I guess, deviation. But I went along that again. It was pretty cool to see that. Just a nice kind of I'm not sure what the term would be, but like just nice little like straightaway that parallels with the beach. But I agree with you. It was definitely some shrubbier habitat and stuff that could be much more potential for like eye levels with warblers and stuff like that too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. We also saw we transitioned we had to do a little climbing honestly, but we transitioned to a what do you even call that? Like a
hop in
bridge
the
over the marsh or something, or a natural
riprap.
bridge. Yeah.
It's talking about the stacks of rocks and all that.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, we saw
Oh
some
yeah.
turtles, did some herping, so that was cool.
I saw so many turtles the whole week, man. Unsurprisingly.
Yeah.
I think the animals we most saw are Canada geese because like this is the time of year for like they're young, of course, but there's like every park had like 4 or 5 families of like the goslings and all that stuff. Like they are everywhere.
It was
Jeez.
awesome though. Honestly,
No,
like
it's cool.
I
Yeah, I had a
normally
good
don't like
few
Canada geese,
photos.
but when they have kids, I mean, it's awesome.
It's a weird way to put it, but I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally valid. Between that, um, I thought it was weird. I don't know about you, but like Eastern Towhee, I have a lot of those down here, like all the time. But like up there, I didn't hear a single one until like we entered some woodland, I think, and that was a few days in. It was just weird. I was assuming they'd be around, but they weren't prevalent really at all.
Yeah, I found the same thing. It was really weird. It's
And
almost
like
like the other birds pushed them out or something. I don't know.
and I'm kind of jumping around now, but it's pretty funny because of the chickadees. I forgot completely that black capped is common up there. Like all the field guides and checklists, like the paper like brochures I'd get from like the festival and stuff, they all had black cap. They did not have Carolina chickadee, and like I'm pretty much the black cap down south in Ohio is like the common, or excuse me, it's the winter resident. So like they're kind of like lesser common for the rest of the year, but up there it's like that's the year round guy, and like and so like it wasn't until I put an eBird Carolina chickadee it said like infrequent unreported and it like flagged it for comments. I was like, oh, I forgot. Like it's a couple hours up north, but it like makes a big difference, I guess, too.
Yeah, it's a
Like
different climate zone, different habitat. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah. It's just because I don't, you know me, I don't get out that much. Like I stay pretty local, so like I was just like, oh, like it kind of is a thing there. Yeah, it's just have to pay attention to.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think after that we went back for a bit, took a break. I mean it was probably 1 p.m. by the time we finished all that walking.
Yeah.
We were both dead. Like we were just, or at least I was
I know,
I was out of it. Yeah.
I felt quite alive, honestly.
Well, I was like mentally alive, but like physically I was just like beat. Because like I don't know.
Really? I
Yeah.
don't know. The boardwalk's easy going, in my opinion. Yeah.
Well,
But,
it was
it's not like
it was just the heat. I don't know. It was a little hot
oh yeah.
that day.
Was it?
For
I
me,
guess so,
I don't know.
yeah.
I'm
It's not like we're running laps though, you know what I mean? Like it was a flat boardwalk and like we were doing like micro steps and not really just really not moving fast at all. I mean that's like it's the boardwalk's a decent length. I can't think of the mileage off the top of my head, but like
it's 2.3 or something.
is it? Okay. Yeah, but like I mean like you could spend hours like
Oh
cuz
yeah,
we did.
and we did.
We did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like and that's how I'd recommend it. Like I wouldn't say just walk it like fast. Like you're not gonna see squat. Like yeah, spend hours and really like time will fly. But like you get so engrossed in just the landscape and like you're gonna obviously maximize the amount of species you see and probably even talk to some cool people and just talk about birding and all that stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, then that night. After we relaxed for a bit, that was a great night. I mean, we went to Howard Marsh. We were originally searching for yellow-headed blackbird. I only saw one in flight. Ryan did not see it that first night. But then we discovered mud flats, and that was awesome.
We discovered mud flats for the
Yeah.
first time. No, that was really cool. So Howard Marsh, yeah, that was a cool place, man. Where do you even begin? Yeah, so like there's like this gravel path or whatever, and like it's all marsh habitat. Like you're overlooking it. It's a great place for like a roadside scanning with like a spotting scope. But like you and I were just on foot, and it was like late evening light, not quite golden hour yet, but like it was definitely getting that like nice elongate shadows, the golden warmth on like the cattails and the marsh, just really cool stuff. Like it was getting really promising for that. For I think both of our first times there at Howard in particular. And like we go along this gravel path and it takes us to like this little small loop. It's like a little like kind of juts out from into the water, I guess. Like not really an island, but anyways, yeah, there's like some mud flats over there, and like gosh, I mean like just at a quick glance, I got a ruddy turnstone lifer and a crappy out of focus shot at that. There's some, I think, one or two greater yellow lakes. Correct me if I'm wrong, if memory serves.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a handful of spotted sandpipers and maybe a solitary. But like
Yeah.
the best moment, which I know you're eager to talk about, is we got down low, like in the mud flat along the water, like, and you're great about this. I was honestly just kind of following you at this point because you just had like you've done shorebirds like this before.
Yeah, so we.
I don't get the experience of this much like eye level shorebirds. So like I was tagging along really for the ride, and
so,
like
after my Florida trip, I really turned into like a shorebird photographer. So I knew, if you see a shorebird, you wait for it to kind of leave the area, you lay down where it was, and it'll come right back to you. And there was some waiting. I've had worse with shorebirds, but you still have to wait. Maybe 10, 15 minutes later, here he comes. He's marching in. Maybe 10 minutes. I think it was about 10.
No, dude. We sat down. It was like 5 minutes. I mean, they move around pretty quickly. So yeah, we sat down 5 minutes. I remember it was like out of frame, like out of our view, because it was like up. We're down low in the mud flat, of course, but then it goes up this kind of grassy lawn, and there's like a small tree nursery at the top of this little like section, and like it was out of view. But then we saw it creeping out, and it was like picking out of the mud and stuff, eating or whatever. And like, I mean, spotties move pretty fast, I think. So like, at least that one did. And it got in the view, and it was like the most surreal thing because we're just watching it slow, and it didn't care at all. Like it just kept getting closer and closer. And I mean, like that sucker.
Stunning background too. The background was so distant that it became a layer of the brown mud, and then a layer of the blue, and then more brown mud. It was so good, like amazing.
Couple of golden hour light, and I think, and the way we positioned ourselves was perfect because it was front lit and like, and it was like. The moment lasted long enough, like you and I probably got like a lot of images, but like I even flipped on the video just real quick and got some decent footage.
Oh yeah,
him. Like
definitely.
when he was at his closest, even and I was like, dude, this is really cool.
No, he came right up to our lens hoods basically at one point. I mean, he was right there. He came to the point where it was too close for both of us to photograph, like minimum focus wise. Like he was so close.
Yeah, and like I'm trying not to giggle and squeal like a little girl, but I was like, dude, is this really happening? Like trying to be quiet, and like this is because like it's not about me. Like I love shorebirds. I love the idea of photographing them, but like where I'm at, it's like we don't get that good like shore habitat very often. Like we have a couple like state parks with some decent sized lakes, but like you're not always going to draw on the biggest amount of species compared to like Lake Erie, of course, like in this instance. So,
totally.
Like, yeah, so like that's kind of like what I meant. It's not like I'm against or averse to it. It's like I just don't get that experience because like most of what's around here is like waterways, like rivers and creeks, and like you get them along those, of course, but like we're just little fishing ponds at a community park. But like you're not going to be really eye level most of the time. I mean, I found some spots that are decent, but like you're probably only gonna get like killdeer or something. Which
and the one time I've ever photographed shorebirds in Louisville is just I had to literally lay in water in a creek to get it. Like that's the only way here. But a place like this, the birds are used to humans fairly. I mean, these shorebirds were still skittish. I think we even admittedly flushed a couple at first. I think it was us, I assume. Which happens with shorebirds. They're very skittish. But once you lay down, they do not care. Found that in Florida too. As long you can't like rotate, you gotta set like I intentionally put us in the front lit direction because I knew you can't change your angle. You gotta like just stay there. Even like some tripod movements will scare them away. I found. So, but if you sit there, it'll work. It'll work eventually. I mean, sometimes you have to wait, sometimes you don't. So.
Right. Unfortunately, we both shot handheld. Did you bring your ground pod out for that one?
I did not bring my ground pod there. That was a mistake. That would have been great for that.
Neither did I, but like to be fair, it was our first experience there. So like, I mean, we could have guessed, but like,
I knew there would be shorebirds on the mud flats, but I never thought there'd be a mud flat that's accessible to us. So.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit of a walk out there from the parking lot, but like a few minutes in, it's like that was worth it. Just for that alone, that was probably one of the best photo ops in like the whole trip, really.
Oh yeah, and I'm definitely. Next year, like at a sunrise or a sunset, Like I'm definitely gonna just lay there for like hours and get the turnstones and maybe even some Dunlin and the yellow legs, all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah, shout out to the Dunlin though. Overall on the trip, like they were everywhere.
oh yeah,
I mean, like I'm talking like flocks. I would see flocks of like 50 of them fly into a mud flat at different locations. That is, and like I never seen Dunlin. I don't see Dunlin that much. I've gotten like one okay photo from like 4 years ago at my local wetlands, but like these guys were in their rocking the breeding plumage. They had that black spot on their breast, like or on the chest, and like just like looking striking. And then like there was like so many of them too. It was like they were all really far away. It was usually like sunny days, so like photos were just kind of dock shots, but like still, it was like such a cool shorebird. Probably my favorite, honestly. Now I'm thinking about it. So
it was a lifer for me too.
really, that's good. Yeah, that's a good one, man. That's a good one.
Because when I went to Florida, pretty much everything had migrated out, so there wasn't really the Dunlin or the yellow legs or anything. So it was kind of, I got to see different group of shorebirds, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
it's tougher in the fall shorebird migration because like they obviously don't have the breeding plumage and like they become this dull kind of gray brown that like to be honest they kind of just blend in with every other shorebird, so it's a lot tougher. But during spring here, it's like just it's indistinguishable, I'd say. Like once you start learning about that kind of birds.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think like you said, it's peak season for shorebirds. Well, not peak, but it's like getting close to peak when we were there. So it was awesome.
Yeah, ramping up at least throughout the whole month of May.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
and then after that, wow. Ooh.
Metzger. So Metzger's like, if we're talking geographically, it's like right down the road. We kind of got lost trying to drive there. We were carpooling, but like we eventually got there with like I think it was like just an hour of daylight. So it was like prime time, golden hour. This is just coming off the high of like Howard and like having that spotted sandpiper experience. So like we were both pumped, totally like adrenaline was going off. And like so we get up to this Metzger Marsh wildlife area, and this is unlike Howard where it's kind of like a distance away from the lake. Like this is right on top of Erie, Lake Erie, and like I just dude, we walked on this big. It's like a big dike trail. There's not too much like trails to it, but the woodlot that I'll get to in a little bit that surrounds like the parking lot, some really tall trees, great habitat for warblers. But like you and I just kind of started walking along the water, and there's like I think palm warbler and yellow warbler on like both sides, and they followed us the whole length, and we almost went the entire way, which is a fair distance. There's also bald eagles kind of way off the distance. It was just like so good. I mean, like, and that was like one of the best one of the best sunsets I'd seen in a long time too. It was just
and the way when you have something like that has no trees, no tall features, the light is just godly, and we don't get that where we live, like ever, like because
most places.
I mean, like Ohio and Kentucky, we have a lot of hills and tall trees, like old growth forests. That block a lot of stuff.
I get that.
Yeah, so it's rare, at least for me, to get a shoot like that when I'm not traveling. Just in kind of a more. You wouldn't think a marsh would have light like that, but it can if you find these places out on the lake. I'm talking definitely. like a pinkish golden, like it was insane.
Yeah, it was just super vibrant. I mean, like just getting these little yellow birds, like. It was just like bathed in this light on some trees, and even the leaves, of course, had this orangish tint, like everything. And it's like editing can mimic this kind of like this style, I guess, or this lighting. But like, dude, getting it naturally was just purely epic, to say the least. It was really surreal. And I remember kind of a little bit later on while we were walking down the dike, but I noticed there's like some big white birds out there. And I believe I got trumpeter swan earlier in the day, as a lifer that is, on the drive into McGee.
I believe that was actually the day after, I thought.
No, I think I saw him the first time I went.
Really?
Maybe. I think it was on the way out of McGee earlier that day, because like I saw him like every drive in and out of there, because they're just like along the marsh. But you could be right. I actually don't remember.
I actually think it was the next day, because I remember you saying the first ones we saw were Mute swans, so you were hoping it was a trumpeter.
Yeah.
But I actually got a really good photo of that. It was
The
small in
mutes.
frame. Yeah, but also there was a tern that flew in between them. So it was really
Oh,
cool.
okay.
So
I
one of
didn't
those
know that.
random things. I didn't know it either until I got home on the computer. One of those random things you just never know until it shows up in your
Yeah.
frame. Yeah.
I've surprised myself before. I'm like, I took that shot, like, and plus it's like a week's worth. Like, I'm still going through it now. I'm just like, I don't remember taking this, but this is cool. Like, yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah. We basically were. I noticed those big white birds, and I was like, those are clearly swans. Like, they just had the shape of them, and they're like on the as you're walking on the dike. It was on the right side, just big open water, where like some blue winged teal were as well. But yeah, and I was like trying to scope them because I brought my spotting scope for this part of the trip, I guess, and I was like trying to find them or identify them. That is because I was like hoping it was a lifer, and I was like so bummed because it was I think four total. They're all mute swans, which I'm like they're cool, but they're not native, and I've already seen them and photographed them a decent amount, so I was like kind of bummed. But I got
Hmm.
some like small and frame ones, and it has that perfect orange glow behind them, like it's bright blue water foreground when they're swimming, and it's just
Hmm.
like orange lighting. Like I love the look of that on a marsh.
And I
Just
do
the
want to mention
beige.
too. We planned this like based on weather. Like we knew
Yeah,
that more open areas would be better in golden light, and the more
yeah.
wooded areas would be better in cloudy light. So for the most part, we tried to plan what we would do around that. So
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that worked pretty well to our advantage. Like besides that first day where it was just all rain, like every other day of the week was just full sun, which meant like you kind of had to work with it because like I wanted to maximize my shooting time, which is most of the day, right? But like it did mean that like I had to plan out which locations to go to, like you said, so that I could get that basically just use that sunset light to its fullest extent.
oh yeah, for sure, it was amazing. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think
Such a good sunset.
that was pretty much it for that night. We'll talk about it later, but we did come back to that location. It was just great, beautiful views, everything. Super cool
Hmm.
experience for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think from there, yeah. What do we do? Did we have dinner that
We
night?
met. Yeah, we had dinner with Gary and Noah that night. That was awesome. Just it's good to meet up with your friends up there, and just kind of have good
Have a
conversations. Everything. Yeah, it was
yeah,
awesome.
just
So.
yeah, hang out, have a chat, get to know him a little bit better. Because I kind of just like shook hands with Noah. Gary, I talked to for those few hours, but like Noah, I really didn't get to see that much yet.
Hmm.
So it's just cool talking to them some more. Was it
Yeah.
was that the night? I gotta mention it. But wasn't that the night the sleepwalking thing?
Yes. So, I've never said this on the podcast, but I'm a chronic sleepwalker. And Ryan and I
you
we
warned
did
me
share
about
a
it.
hotel room. Yeah, I did warn him after he committed to it, of course. But no.
That's true. I know. I was not. I mean, I kind of brushed it off because you're like one of these 4 nights I'm gonna sleepwalk, and I was like
Uh-huh.
I think it was the night before that night. You said like the first night, so this is the second night or whatever, and like I think it was like 1 or 2 in the morning. We went to bed at like 11:30 or midnight, something like that.
Midnight or something. Yeah.
It was late. It's my normal bedtime nowadays, but and I wake up, it's dark in the room, and like I'm just hearing you, and I look up and I see you like from like the minimal kind of like window light, and like you're just like kind of like pushing my foot. Like you're standing,
Yeah.
you're standing at the side of the bed at the end of it, and you're pushing my foot like just kind of like repeatedly, and I hear you saying, quit oversleeping." Like I woke up because I'm a real light sleeper, so like I woke up probably the first like second or two you did that,
Uh-huh.
and like I don't know why, because like I get startled from being a light sleeper, so like if I something surprises me, I jump up and I snap up, and like I don't know why, but I just took my foot, that same foot, and just like kicked you, like not even kicked you, I just like drove it into your like probably your gut, and I just like pushed you and you fell back into your bed.
It was a good strategy, and I didn't feel any pain, so it worked. And yeah,
Excuse me.
it
It was so weird.
it's I've been doing it
It
for
was
like
weird.
10 years, and I knew it was gonna happen. It's pretty much a guarantee. And yeah.
It and and I apologize, of course. Like the next morning, like I went back to bed, and I think you did too, probably after that. But like I woke up and I was just like,
Oh, I don't even
"Did
remember.
you?"
I wasn't even awake.
That,
So
That was the
Yeah.
scariest part. I was just
Uh,
like, hey, like I had to mention it. It's the elephant in the room. I was like, did you
well, you
remember?
think
Like,
it's the
did you
elephant in the room, but you could have never mentioned it. I would have had no idea whatsoever.
take that to my grave? That'd be so
Uh huh.
weird. It was too weird not to, because I was like,
Uh huh.
waking up startled like that. I was so delirious. I just kind of dozed off because it's like I knew it instantly. Like, oh, he's sleepwalking. But like, it honestly freaked me out. That's why I was just like kick foot, like someone's
It is pretty
attacking me.
creepy. Yeah.
Like the things that go through your head at 2 a.m. Like when I don't know. I trust you, but it was just like freaky to wake up
Uh
to
huh.
that. I never really had that experience, but anyways,
Yeah.
little tangent, but it
Uh-huh.
was a quite funny story, I think, and yeah.
Yeah,
But
it was great.
yeah,
It was definitely interesting. Yeah.
after a few hours of sleep, we went right back out,
Uh-huh.
early, bright and
Yeah.
early.
I had another workshop. Um, let's see. Do we did separate cars that day, right? Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah, we okay because I went on my sunrise shoot, and then yeah, you had another workshop at Mommy,
Uh-huh.
right? Yeah,
Yeah. I'll quickly go over my workshop and then
no
you
worries.
can talk about your landscapes. So I did another workshop. I did it at the Mommy Bay Boardwalk, which I'd been to earlier in the week with Ryan. Really good group once again. Red winged blackbirds were the main attraction again, but a bunch of beginners. So it was great. Met some great people in that workshop. Just enjoyed talking to them. They got an eagle again though, so that was cool. Uh, you got to see the eagles. That's the line. So,
And we saw him. Yep.
oh yes, we saw the eagles. Yeah, um, yeah, and it was good. I think I liked the first day better, probably just because of the location. The people were great in both, but just for
Yeah.
workshops, I like some like I liked like the more kind of backwoods trail that was more kind of remote. And you could really just stay in one area for long periods of time and just focus on like technique and whatnot. But both
Right.
workshops were great. And yeah, that second one was really fun. So it was good. It was good.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's cool that not only did you get to do one workshop, but two. And you're
Yeah.
pretty well familiar with them at that point already too. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's
And
great.
next year for sure, I'm sure both of us, we'll be doing a bunch. I'm sure. So.
Yeah, I would love to, man. I think it's fun just kind of leading people and teaching them. And, like that's definitely something I want to do more of. So yeah,
Hmm.
so hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and then from there, so you're off doing that early in the morning. I got out real early too, before sunrise, and like I drove all the way out to McGee. But from the, I guess you could call it pre-scouting from the day before, where we're just kind of like walking the beach at high noon. I was like, this is so cool. I need to come back at sunrise, and so I was just like dead set on doing that next morning because I knew it'd be sunny, or a nice good full sunrise. And
Hmm.
so I just basically I parked up. I think I was like the first one there in the parking lot, and like I had just enough time because like the beach is right there. So like I walked a few steps and I was right there, and I had some comps I took with my phone the day before as we were both walking it. So I kind of like had some ideas for the whole length of the beach, and I forgot to mention, but at this point I had the R5. The day before Gary, thanks Gary once again, but he lent me the Canon R5. So that was my first time with mirrorless. And so I was using that for about a full 24 hours shooting. And so I brought it with me to this landscape shoot. And I was like, just trying out some different compositions I had. And I used my 16 to 35 f4 on there with the adapter and all that. And it was just such a cool, I don't know, just being out there, just kind of enjoying the little. I mean, I enjoyed shooting with you, but it's just like nice to have a little break and from everyone in general. It's just like a little
Yeah.
solitary experience. Just just doing the camera stuff and just enjoying that sunrise. And I shot it for a good hour and a half, 2 hours probably, because the light was still pretty nice. Walked the length of the beach, took different comps, saw lots of gulls, which apparently I'm an enthusiast about. And yeah, and then I got back to my car, and it was like the parking lot was like almost full, like by 10, I think. Like it was like nuts. But understandable, of course. I think from there I took like a little break to have a snack, switch out to my telephoto, and just hit the boardwalk. It was almost perfect. Like a 2-for-1 package deal. Trying out the R5 and all that too there. So basically
Yeah,
just went
that's
from
awesome.
landscapes to birds. And yeah, it was fun. It was a good time that day.
Yeah. Then after that, I drove to Pearson Metro Park. We really just wanted to see what was up there. It's right by our hotel. So we just wanted to check it out. I actually took a nap in my car because I was exhausted, so had a little break there. That was nice. It's kind of a midday break. And yeah, when you got there, we did. That was kind of our probably our biggest like hike we took. It wasn't that big, but we definitely hiked around. I made the mistake of bringing my heavy tripod. I don't know why I still do this to myself. Like, I really don't need a tripod at this point, so I don't know why I keep carrying it. But that was a mistake. But
Yeah.
it was pretty. Not a lot of subjects.
Yeah.
But it was pretty. It was pretty.
But it was like our, at least for me, it was like the first looks at some birds that I would see in better opportunities later on. Like I think what was some of the standouts? Black and white,
Black and white and
blue.
black-footed blue. Yep.
I saw my
Oriole.
Yep, my first one of the week. I saw my first we saw our first red start, I believe, of the week.
Oh yeah.
What else? I mean, yeah, just like quite a few good birds. It was like not good opportunities because they were high up in the trees at this point. We're down the woodland floor. Mm-hmm. But like that park was still, I think, a hidden gem because most people, they flock, no pun intended, to like McGee and all that because it's easier to see these birds. But like, it was still, I feel like, a nice metro park, and like you said, it was like on the drive there to like the other places that we normally go to. So it was like,
and
perfect.
I think it'd be like a perfect birders park too. For photography, it's probably not the best, but for birders, like you, on the peak of migration, you could get tons of species there, I'm sure.
Yeah, and like without checking the checklist, because I captured everything on eBird for like the entire week, and I shared them with you, Henry. But like it was, I remember that we got like a decent amount of species, different kinds, and like you said, it's I totally agree. It's maybe not the best place for photo opportunities, but like from a birder standpoint, like you get pretty good variety of species with even a variety of habitat too. So like there's lots of cool stuff and like stuff I wouldn't see at the marsh, like crows maybe. Yeah, I saw some robins, but there's a lot more at Pearson, of course. Just stuff like that, chickadees at that point. Stuff that's more woodland centric maybe, that you wouldn't see near the wetlands or the coast.
Yeah, it was cool for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely hot, sunny, but it was worth just checking out midday, just seeing what's out there.
Yeah, and then after that we took another break, and I believe wasn't that the day that we ended up sleeping like 2 hours by accident?
Oh yeah, by like day 3, I was just like I was kind of like I'm just like I'm beat. Like I wanted to get a little extra sleep because I woke up so early, like that day in particular. So yeah, I like slept in like an hour or something 2 later, I guess.
Yeah, but it was needed, and it was awesome. Sometimes you need to do that.
Yeah, the heat really got into my head. Probably yours too, from that the earlier hike, and then that sleep really helped because I felt pretty good, and we went from there.
Mm-hmm. What did we go to from there, though? I'm sorry, I can't remember.
I think we went back to... No, I honestly, I was going to ask you the same thing. I think we went back to McGee. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we got... That was fun. Really cool magnolia photography.
Oh. The white-eyed vireo was, like, the highlight of that particular moment.
Yeah. Okay, so
I saw, like, 4 or 5.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Go ahead.
But this one shoot we got with a white-eyed vireo really came really close up, and that's a tiny bird too. It's smaller than most warblers, honestly. It was on some beautiful foliage, beautiful plants. That was awesome. I mean
that was surreal, dude. They're like I think that was a lifer for me too, that moment. But like I've seen pictures, and like any of those birds with the eye rings are just so cool looking to me. It's so entrancing, and like to see that guy in real life, not only in real life, up close, like right in my face, just bouncing around, doesn't even care I'm there.
Yeah, like, I mean, you know it's good when
surreal.
you can see feather detail with your naked eye. Like it's a good place. That's rare, so rare.
Yeah, and it was weird because I guess to sum up this whole biggest week, and like the coolest thing I think about me staying a whole week was like I get to see the ebb and flow of species come and go. Like a few days in, there's like a good push of blue jays. Like I saw like so many.
Oh my gosh!
Like flocks of them flying up high in the trees.
We probably saw 1,000 plus in one day, honestly.
at least one of the days, but yeah, they're around for like the rest of the trip, I think. Other days we'd see like a good push of catbirds. Other days there's like just
Yellow
there's like always like
warblers.
throughout really. Yeah, but maybe some days were more than others. But yeah, that was weird because I think that vireo in particular I only saw in that evening, like that day. But like I saw quite a few of them on the boardwalk, which is cool. And the photos I got with coupled with the R5 were like drop dead gorgeous. I mean, like yeah, probably my favorite. Some of my favorite photos of the trip overall.
Yeah,
Just
and
a cool moment.
are
Yeah.
are those birds like as rare as warblers? Like, are they still pretty rare?
I don't think. I think it's a warbler. I mean, they migrate. I think it's
Well,
a
I know they're
warbler.
not. I know they're not warblers. I'm just like asking, are they like pretty rare in
No, I mean
other locations?
they're kind of. I mean, they're a migratory species, so
Hmm.
like maybe like
Yeah, but they're like on the level of warblers, right? Like they don't summer,
yeah,
right?
yeah. They yes, correct. Yeah, I don't
Uh,
believe so. I think they're kind of lumped in that same category because they migrate at the
mhm.
same time of year as the warbs do. So yeah, I think you're right.
Got it. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they're pretty, like really pretty. All the
Uh,
vireos. I think I saw most of the species. I got a look at the Philadelphia the last day even.
mm.
All very pretty. The blue-headed, all of them very cool.
Yeah, I think I missed out on red-eyed. I knew they were around, but like I just didn't have any
Yeah,
luck
those were pretty.
finding them.
They were
They are
around,
pretty.
just kind of far out. I found.
Yeah, I kept hearing people talk about them, so I'm like, where are you guys seeing these at? Like, warbling was very prevalent too, like for several days in a row.
Uh-huh.
I think I did get a
And
few
they're pretty too.
Philadelphias, like you. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Can't knock
Uh-huh.
those. I got a few close-ups of those as well. But yeah,
Ooh, you got
vireos are
close-ups.
pretty
Nice.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, a handful. I think that was later in the week, like after your departure. But it was at McGee, of course. Like, where else?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so
Yeah, and that night I think we also got like really like closest I think we got to a warbler was that yellow warbler. I don't know if you remember,
yeah,
but it was in a bush like literally right in front of us. Literally. I
yeah.
mean, as close as our computer screens are right now, pretty much.
Just imagine that, really. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I agree. There's so many. It's hard to like remember those yellow warbler encounters because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Like that might
By
have
the
been
end
my
of the
most
week, we gave
photographed
up on
species.
yellow warblers, like totally. Like we just stopped.
Yeah, it sounds. I feel terrible, but like people are being wowed by it on the boardwalk, and I'm like, guys, they're everywhere. Like, get over it. I've been seeing them for like a straight week. I know their song by heart.
Mhm.
It's whatever. Yeah,
Yep. Uh,
but yeah.
Still cool to see though. I mean,
Oh
I'll
yeah,
never not.
yeah.
Like, if they were, they're still stunning. So.
It's funny because a week before the trip, I was at my local fen, a fen's type of wetland, but like, and I got like, by comparison, some pretty meh kind of shots of like it was small in frame with some green foliage, of a yellow warbler, and like at that moment, a week before the trip, I was like pretty excited. I was like, oh, spring's here! I'm hyped for this trip, and then like I get all these like pretty much frame fillers of that species on the trip, like multiple days, multiple lights, comps, etc. And it's just like, wow, that kind of put that other shot to shame. I'm like, I should have just waited. I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
it's kind
I
of funny
kind
to
of
me.
threw out my entire previous warbler portfolio basically.
Oh,
I didn't have
dang.
I didn't have a big one. I didn't really do
Yeah.
it much
Oh,
last
dude.
year. Yeah, so it's kind of gone, which is fine because it was
Wow.
replaced by much better stuff. So
Yeah, the little checklist, like things I mentioned earlier, like the brochures I got, like they had like ones for just Ottawa, which we'll get to. We haven't got about Ottawa yet, and then one for like McGee Marsh in the vicinity, and like I checked off almost every warbler over the whole week. Like I missed like maybe 4 of them, 5 maybe,
Wow.
and they're like ones that were around, like people are observing them and citing them. I just once again didn't have any luck. I didn't know what to look for maybe, or I just wasn't right place, right time. But like, there's a few surprises in there, I will say. Spoiler.
Oh yeah, for
but,
sure.
But yeah, I almost like checked off every warbler. I'm like of the like the migrating ones in Ohio. I was like, this is sweet. Like,
Yep.
and photos to boot for a lot of them.
Thank you so much for watching the Owl Outdoors Photography Podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and the video version on YouTube as well. You can subscribe down below, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.